Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday, and thank you so much for joining us today for the Celebrating Women in EMBA Student and Alumni Stories event. So wonderful to see you all. So before we get started actually into today's event, I just first want to introduce myself along with my admissions colleagues. So Sarika, if you want to advance the slide. I see a lot of familiar names here and faces. So some of you may be very familiar with us, but if it's your first time, my name is Shannon Bell, and I'm Director of Admissions here for the Executive MBA program, along with my colleagues Sarika, Christina, and Vanessa as well. And hopefully you've either met us or throughout your journey, you will get to meet all of us as we're here to support you as you're trying to figure out if the UCLA Anderson Executive MBA is the right program to help you meet your goals. So I thought this slide was just so appropriate for today's event because this is actually our female class for the EMBA 2021s. And they are a class that I think I hold very dear to my heart. It was a very challenging road that they had starting the program and then, graduating and going through most of their program in a global pandemic. And it was so wonderful because we recently brought them together in October to celebrate and have a proper in-person graduation. So as I introduced to you this topic area today, I thought that this was a really good focal point for us to focus on. So, today's event is really a great way to kick off Women's History Month. And so we have some incredible UCLA Anderson EMBA leaders here with us today. They're going to share their stories with you, and hopefully, something you hear today from them resonates with your story and your goals and helps you feel the confidence to know that this is a program that can be a good fit for you. And definitely after they share their stories, we're going to have plenty of time for you to ask any questions that you may have as well. Definitely stay on and think of those questions that you may have. So before I introduce our speakers and panelists today, I did want to highlight a couple aspects of UCLA Anderson that really align with today's theme of celebrating women. First, I'm very proud to say that this past year, the class of 2023 that started in fall of 2021 actually was our largest class to date. And it was our largest representative of people that identify in the class as female. So we're at 40% for that class, which has been a steady increase. And that actually is an absolute number, represents 81 females in the class of 2023. So something we will continue to prioritize and keep a focus on. Next, UCLA Anderson has multiple school-wide initiatives that are designed to support and celebrate female leaders in the business community. So to name a few, one is our annual Velocity Women's Summit. And this is actually that's coming up just in a few weeks. It's typically always hosted in February or March. And it's a partnership between our Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion and the Women's Business Connection Student Club. It's a full-day conference that honors the power and the impact of women, and it brings together the entire UCLA Anderson community, students, alumni, and even people from the local business community to explore ideas for a more equitable future in business and society. It's always made up of some really amazing keynote speakers. This year, we have the co-founder of SoulCycle and the chief sustainability officer of Anheuser-Busch. In 2019, we actually had Barbara Streisand. So we've had, you have to take advantage that we're in LA and can get some of that star power as well. And then it really is focused on covering also some smaller, intimate breakout sessions on some hot topics in business. So this year we have women leaders in crypto and NFTs as one of the topics. Another one is rewriting your money story. And then another session on presence and communicating with clarity and confidence. So these are things that are also woven into your experiences in EMBA, but a great opportunity is kind of an extracurricular to get together with the entire school and talk on some of these topics. Also, our Women's Business Connection is one of our thriving student identity clubs. And there's actually an alumni version of this club as well called Anderson Women. And they put on events throughout the year on various topics. And Heidi Wu, who's one of our speakers today, she's a current EMBA student and has actually had some involvement with that club and is going to speak to some of the programming that she's been a part of as part of that program. Also, our executive education department, that's the department at Anderson that is focused on certificates and non-degree programs. They actually offer a corporate governance program specifically for female leaders. I think we're in the third year of that program, and it's really to help support female leaders to get positions on boards. And the professors one of the professors that teaches within that program also teaches a module to the entire EMBA class as part of our leadership foundations on corporate governance as well. So something that you will all get exposed to in the program. Finally, UCLA is definitely focused on taking action to drive change within the curriculum, especially as it relates to teaching case studies that feature female protagonists, and on increasing our female faculty. And to be very honest, these are kind of monumental changes across any business school, and they definitely take time. But our Dean, Tony Bernardo, is very focused on this. And in the last 2 years, to follow through with that commitment, we have hired 8 new women to the school's latter faculty. And their research is on topics ranging from behavioral economics to gender bias, to cryptocurrency, and also related to some other topics related to behavioral science. So this definitely, has had a wonderful impact on the school, and something that I know the leadership is definitely still committed to. And on the topic of female leadership, next Friday we actually have another EMBA program that some of you, I hope, might be able to attend. It will be our second faculty spotlight series, and it's featuring one of our most beloved leadership faculty that I think many EMBAs get exposure to, Professor Iris Ferstenberg. She specializes in strategies for creative problem solving and innovative thinking. And so next week's session, if you can join us, it's the same time, noon on Zoom. And she's actually going to do a 30-minute lecture specifically on the topic of shaping the future using deliberate chaos. So definitely something you won't want to miss. So hopefully I've piqued your interest with some of this. And if you want to learn further about what Anderson is doing around some of these topics, we have a great website called Women at Anderson. It'll be in the follow-up to this message. So definitely take a look at that if you want to look into more of the research, learn more about our faculty, and just in general more about what the school is doing to celebrate women. So before I transition into our student and alumni stories, I just want to remind all of you that if you are in that place where you are thinking about starting the program this fall, our application is definitely still open. We're on a rolling admission basis till May 1st, so you're definitely not too late to think about starting your application. And just know that the admissions team is here to support you through the whole process. You can definitely attend one of our weekly drop-in Q&A sessions that we have, or schedule a one-on-one appointment with us. So we look forward to addressing your questions and supporting you at that time.
Thank you, Shannon. I think you just answered one question. I was curious, am I too late for this? Yeah, you answered my question. Thank you.
Good, you are not too late, absolutely. Okay. So now would love to introduce one of our first wonderful female leaders at Anderson, who's going to kick off this event. I would like to introduce you to Heidi Wu. Heidi is a current student in the EMBA class of 2022. She was elected as her class student president, a role she serves in while in the program, as well as 5 years post graduation that she'll serve in on our alumni committee, along with other class presidents. She holds 3 leadership positions within student clubs, within Andertech, which is our Technology Business Association, our Japan American Business Association, and the Women's Business Connection. She's pursuing certificates in technology management, global management, and the entrepreneurship certificate. And she lives in the Bay Area and is part of our monthly section schedule option She fills the title of not only a mother, but a leader at the Stanford School of Medicine in the finance department. And today she's here to share her personal MBA journey with you and her motivation for serving as class president and some of her involvement within the Women's Business Connection. So I will turn it over to you, Heidi.
Thank you so much, Shannon, for the introduction. It's such an honor to be here with some familiar faces, and I'm so excited for everybody who's attending today, because I can't believe actually just 2 years ago, I was in your seat tuning into these webinars and trying to find out what UCLA Anderson's all about and seeing if EMBA is the right fit for me. So I will quickly share a little bit of my background and of course, open to any questions, but why Anderson is kind of something that comes up again and again. And something that I recalled recently, which is funny now, is I remember years ago, somebody who was pursuing their MBA at the time told me when I said, I was like, oh, I'm thinking about business school myself. They said, Heidi, you're too nice for business school. And that never sat well with me. I was like, that's one, like a backhanded compliment in a way. Thank you for telling me I'm nice, but to limit me never felt right. So, I kind of chewed on that for a bit and the timing wasn't quite right for me career-wise, but then the pandemic hit and I saw Anderson's values to share success, think fearlessly, drive change. And what better place to try to make an impact in the world when so many communities are hurting than at Anderson, where these values are embodied. I spoke with 3 different alumni who all said they walk the walk. It's not just some sign that's on Anderson building. It's not a poster. These are things that Anderson students and alumni and staff and faculty, they all believe in these values. So I definitely saw myself there. I wanted to be there. And Sarika might remember when she called me with admissions, I was so overjoyed. I was crying, I was happy, I was jumping. I gave my daughter a big hug and she's like, I want to go to Anderson too. And it was just a wonderful moment. And I can't even share how much joy I've had since then, being able to be recognized, not only for being a woman API and pursuing my MBA, but I want to share that also it's what you put into it at EMBA. For me, I wanted to get the most out of the student experience. That's why I signed up for Women's Business Connection, Japan America Business Association, and Andertech, because one of my goals was to pivot into technology after the program. I'm so thrilled to share that I actually have accepted an offer from Amazon. I'm going to be joining their supply chain strategy and operations team at the end of the month. So to realize one of these goals, I really want to share with everybody that you can do it. And Anderson, the brand, the resources, the support you get here is unbeatable. They really are so committed to helping students achieve their goals. And through your network that you have with your classmates, it really is so valuable. I can't believe I'm graduating in a couple of months, but I know that these are lifelong relationships I'll keep with me far beyond June and the time we have at Anderson. Thank you so much for the kind messages in chat. I'll just pause for now just to see if anybody has any questions about the specializations that Shannon shared. I'm doing global management, entrepreneurship, and tech business because thank you, you guys are so kind. If there's any questions you have about the coursework or how to juggle being a mother, a working professional, and a student, and holding student leadership roles, I can tell you, it is possible. It's amazing what you can do with the time you have in the day when you are motivated and when you are supported by an incredible program and really amazing classmates that inspire you.
Yeah, I have one question. So what are all the, scholarships or, other stuff that you can get for this course?
Let's hold the questions around fellowships. I'm happy to answer that at the end, but if it's okay to hold those kind of questions. Heidi, I think it would be great if you could highlight a bit about why you decided to run for class president, as well as just some of the ways that with Women Business Connection, you've supported some of the programming there and how the programming has benefited you.
Absolutely. And I also want to say congratulations to Mary, who is a new mother. That is wonderful news. So running for president, I actually was nominated. And one thing that I shared with Shannon, which she wanted me to highlight, is that it's actually something I didn't set myself out to do. I was really, I'm somebody who likes to support and do things in the background. And when I see something that needs to be done, I take action. So we are a class, we call ourselves the COVID class because we started the program completely remotely in the middle of the pandemic. So opportunities to meet each other were very limited and safely. So we're like, hey, let's get some virtual happy hours together. Why not? And so I took it upon myself to find some Zoom resources. How do you set up a breakout room? How do you send the invite out? All those things. And, I just stayed true to myself. Like, if this can help the class, why not? It's going to take, less than 10 minutes of my time, but if it'll help somebody, let me go ahead and try it. And so my classmates, I think they recognize that. And it was so validating to know that just being myself was not only enough, but they wanted me to step into this leadership position to help represent the class, advocate for them on what they are looking for, what they need to succeed. And actually, one of the alumni you'll hear from later, Thaisa Male, we had her featured in a Women's Business Connection EMBA panel because we wanted to hear the stories of EMBA women and share what are some of their entrepreneurial journeys, what are things that they came from. She was in banking, I believe, and is pivoting. I don't want to steal her spotlight, but everybody has such a unique story. So being able to represent them and be able to say, EMBAs have so much they bring back to Anderson, and to go back out into the world with an Anderson degree is something that I am so proud to advocate and show for.
And Heidi, I love hearing how you say that just being yourself is what got you recognized for a leadership role. And I think that's something that we really focus on here too, is that it's not about kind of trying to show up as someone different. You get to really introduce yourself as yourself to this new community and get celebrated for that. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. I see somebody with a hand raised.
Yeah, sure. We could take one question and then we'll definitely going to have a lot of time at the end for questions as well. But let's definitely take one question, whoever. Don't see.
Hi, it was me, Shannon. Hi, Heidi. Thank you for taking the time and sharing your story. It's very impressive. I have recently applied to Anderson. I'm waiting to find out, but I wanted to touch on your previous question about your specializations. You mentioned tech, and that's one of the areas I would like to specialize in is tech management. Can you talk a little bit about what you got from that and how it's impacted the way that you think and what you learned from those classes to help you move to where you're going to now?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the question. So the tech management specialization has core courses and extracurricular work that you can do to supplement your learning. I feel like it absolutely helped me with my pivot. The core course in tech management by Professor Terry Kramer, he teaches you this framework of so what, right? So even if you're reading an article these days and they give you all these different facts, what's the so what? What is the big takeaway that you have from this? What are these things that you're going to take to the boardroom that you're going to say, this is what we need to be thinking about, or these are the questions we need to be asking? And the other thing that he also helped us think about, even though I'm a finance person, I have a finance background, is numbers. Where's the data, right? Anecdotally, it's important to hear where people come from and what their stance is. But if you can't back it up with data, are we really able to stand behind this? Are we sure we're, backing this up and we have the right information to move forward with? So the coursework, I thought I took a lot out of. There are a lot of wonderful group projects that you can also do there where you can try to launch a new product. For example, you get to brainstorm and say like, will this, be viable in the market today? And so all of that information and also being out there, there's some developmental activities, attending workshops and conferences that all count towards a tech management specialization, which I found all was very valuable, and I will definitely take with me into my new role at Amazon.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
You're so welcome.
Sorry, that was me. Heidi's going to be on our panel later and joining for the Q&A session with our other panelist as well. So thank you so much, Heidi, and we appreciate hearing your story and look forward to hearing more from you. So transitioning into our alumni panel, and I was really happy today. I think that this shows today that the people that we have for you just really gives you a sense of kind of people are coming from all different paths to this program. And yeah, Heidi gave a little preview to Thaisa's story, who we'll hear first, part of this wonderful EMBA 2021 graduate class that I was telling you about. She made a big pivot in her career as part of this program. Chidinma and Katarina also graduating, towards the end. The pandemic hit at the very end of their program, and how they kind of worked through that, and just their stories working in healthcare, as well as Katarina working in people organizations and ability to use the program to continue to grow in her organization. And then Nina is joining us as kind of our veteran, 5 years out from the program. I think it's really important to understand, so many people talk about the ROI of this program and what impact does it make on your life. And Nina can share today, after being 5 years away from the program, how she reflects on the decision to go back to school, and what the learnings she had that she's continued to keep with her. So we are going to go one by one and let them each share their story for probably about 5 to 7 minutes each. And then we will go ahead and we'll all join together again and open it up to Q&A. So Thaisa, I'll hand it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Shannon. And Heidi, it's so great to see you, and everyone, it's so great to see you as well. So my name is Thaisa Malley. As the title says, I'm the co-founder and CFO of Bluefin Foods. But, if you just look at that title, you're going to think that I had the most traditional trajectory to be where I am, which is absolutely not the case. So first, about me is that, a couple of fun facts is that I was actually born in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I grew up there until I moved to go to high school in New York City. I always had a dream of being a tennis player, hence the tennis racket behind me. And that's when in high school in New York, I wanted to go to LA. I wanted to apply to UCLA. My parents didn't allow me to do so because LA was so far away from Brazil. So New York was closer. It's a 9-hour flight. After finishing high school, I moved back. I did my undergrad in business in Brazil. And immediately in my first year of college, I started working for a hedge fund. And that has been my career path. I worked in the financial industry since I was around 18 years old, all the way up to 2020, where I was working in New York City for the past, I moved back to New York back in 2009, 2010. And I was working in the financial industry as well. And I honestly thought that was going to be my career path until the very day I died. I thought I was going to be in finance, and I was ready to be in it. I loved every single minute of it. It got to a point, though, that I saw that working for someone else, working in the financial industry, you get to a plateau. It's not that you stop learning, because you're always learning new things, but is that it's not so much aligned with your own personal values and your own personal growth. Shannon, I'm sorry for what I'm about to say, but I was #1 advocate not to get an MBA. I was like, it's such a waste of money, what are you going to get? The return is so far away. So I never wanted to. In my mind, coming from the financial industry, I was like, well, if you have the money, go buy a house, put it as down payment in a house, go do something else with it, invest. I was investing. But then I realized, what better way? If I buy a house, if I invest in myself, I'm going to invest in the same things that I already know. I'm biased towards this very one specific thing. I'm limiting myself. And then when I was, okay, I will go to a business school program. I do want to go. I did a program at Columbia University. I did classes at the business school. It was very finance focused. All the schools in the East Coast, very finance focused, very specific for one thing. And that I wanted to break out of that mode. I wanted to see who am I, right? I have all the skills, I have all this energy. What else can I do? With my finance background, I want to be proud of it, but I want to do something else. And then looking at schools, I learned about UCLA Anderson program and the executive program. I was like, wait a minute, I do have, over 10 years of experience in the financial industry. The part that I was most proud of was being a VP of advisory services for a private banking firm where I did investments in equity, fixed income, hedge funds, private equity. And I was like, well, I want to go into that, private equity, venture capital. That's why I want to go to school. I spoke to a couple of people from Anderson, former students, and I was like, okay, I think that's the school for me. And wait a minute, I get to keep my job in New York City. Once a month, I'm going to travel. I'm going to spend like Thursdays and Fridays. Thursdays just because I wanted a day off at work and I wanted to arrive in LA and enjoy. But I'm going to have classes on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then take the red eye back. And then, of course, COVID hit. It wasn't as fun as anymore as I was expecting, because then I was having classes at 9 p.m. Pacific, living in New York City. So I was having classes until midnight and then having to wake up at 6 a.m., to work. But then the most important thing is that I realized, wait a minute, I'm learning all those extremely valuable things. In my second quarter, when I was taking EVI class, which is, if I'm not mistaken, it's an entrepreneurship venture initiation class. And one of the people that was in my first team on the study group, he came up with this idea. He has a background in biology and chemistry, and he said, well, what do you think of us doing a project in cell cultured meat, which is just extracting cells from an animal and then growing this whole thing in a bath of nutrients, putting it into those bioreactors that looks like a beer stir tank in a brewery. And then it has it's a beautiful sushi that we would get out of it. And I was like, dude, I have no idea what you just said. I just understood beer and sushi, and that's not my background, but I'm in. What do you want from me? Let's start working on it. Fast forward to the entire MBA. We started working on that idea since 2019, 2021. December 2020, I quit my job in the financial industry. I formed a company, which is now Bluefin Foods, the one that I'm the co-founder and CFO. And we took that idea throughout business school. We did the whole business plan. For graduation, we participated in the BCO, which is the business creation option for the capstone project to graduate. We participated in a couple of events from UCLA where we won the awards. One is from the Eastern Technology, that it had a cross-campus competition where we could have business people and scientific people. Well, perfect, right? Two business people. We needed scientists, and we were able to put up a project together. We won that competition. And those scientists ended up coming and working for us full time. Now we have a funded company. We're VC backed, and I moved from New York City to LA. And right now my company, it's actually part of UCLA Magnify Incubator, which it has great resources. So we're an all UCLA team. We have the UCLA space. And I'm going to tell you, if you asked me in 2019, when I first joined this program, if that's what I was going to be doing with my life, I would say you're absolutely crazy. No, if I'm getting out of finance, it's to go into venture capitalist because I could use my financial skills. But here I am. So life, for sure, unexpected, but it's a very rewarding experience.
Thank you so much, Taysa, for sharing that. It brings back memories to when I was speaking to you during the interview phase. And I can definitely say she's not lying. That was not on her goal list to start a company. And I think, again, just celebrating this, really this journey is so much about looking inward and thinking about things that you maybe never thought possible. And I appreciate you bringing that theme to life.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So next up, Chidinma, if you could please share your journey.
Absolutely. Hi, Shannon, and hi, everyone. I am so thrilled to be part of this group today. And I am part of the class of 2020, the AMBA class of 2020. And it was the last class that started before the pandemic. So we had about, 70% of in-person classes. And then the last semester, obviously that happened. So it was a bit of a transition, but let me take a step back and tell you a little bit about myself. So I was born in Nigeria and I grew up in the UK. And so my background professionally was actually in computer science. That was my undergraduate degree. And then I worked in risk management in the financial industry, both in London and New York. And so long story short, I changed careers and ended up in medicine. So my role is a pulmonary and critical care physician at UCLA. I was doing that for about 6 years when it started feeling a little bit like grunt work to me. I felt like I wasn't really making an impact in the way I wanted to impact my patients. I felt frustrated because there were a lot of non-clinical people making decisions that really directly affected how I treated my patients. And lo and behold, a lot of them were MBAs. The MBA was not a foreign concept to me. I did my residency at Yale. And during that time, they do have a healthcare MBA, and that was the only other one I considered doing. But obviously now being on the East Coast, on the West Coast, it didn't make sense. I work for UCLA, so I looked into the Anderson program, and after speaking with a couple of people there, it seemed like it made sense to go through. As a pulmonary critical care physician, obviously my workload is already quite high, but I decided to go for it. Life is short, and that's one thing I know certainly from my job. So I applied. I got in pretty early, around December of 2018. I found out I got it, and I accepted. And guess what happened? I got pregnant, and so I actually started off the program about 5 months pregnant, and it was interesting going through that. The first year, it was a high workload. I continued working, so you're doing nights on call in the ICU while doing the MBA and being incredibly nauseated. I had my baby in December of 2019. And so it actually was perfect how it worked out, because I finished my classes. I remember taking the stats final, and then 2 days later giving birth. And then we had a 3-week break over the holiday, and then I came right back in afterwards. So that was a little bit to manage, but it was doable. I think one thing the program has taught me is that our capacity to do work, my capacity to do work, is really quite high, and it makes you, if nothing else, incredibly efficient. I'm not speaking just for the UCLA program. I think most MBA programs will teach you that. But for me, obviously, this has been my experience. Not only efficient, but it actually allows you to figure out what matters to you, what the big stuff is that you sweat, and the little things that you can just kind of let go. So that's just a plug for MBA programs in general. During the program, my favorite class there were 2 classes: the organizational behavior, which is almost like a psychology class for institutions, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. In addition to a negotiations class. One thing you'll learn going through that, it's actually an elective, is that every single encounter you have is a negotiation. And seeing it from that perspective and understanding the psychology behind negotiations has been really crucial in allowing me to do the pivot that I was looking to do work-wise. So speaking a little bit more about that pivot, when I started the program, I was 100% clinical, and I talked about the reasons why I wanted to do the program. Very quickly, about a year in, I started having conversations with my divisional chief, and basically made it very clear that I have these new skill sets, and I have the capacity and ability to do more. And so I was able to become the regional director for my group, and then I took on a different role, which was actually a quality role, quality director for the Department of Medicine at UCLA. And what that looked like was I could actually think a little bit more strategically about the work we were doing. So rather than just being sort of a worker bee doing my day-to-day work, I could take a step back and come up with programs that actually helped improve the quality of care we're delivering to all our patients, not just our lung patients. So that's been an incredibly rewarding role that I have been in over the last couple of years. And that's obviously continued since the pandemic started. So other things, biggest learning points for me in terms of the value it's given me. And what I mean by that is the understanding that my voice is not just my voice matters, but my voice is necessary. There's a reason why as a woman with my experience, I have a seat at the table. As a woman who's a Black woman with my experience, I have a seat at the table. And my perspective is incredibly crucial to share at that seat. If I'm not speaking up, I'm doing a disservice to the person who would have that seat there. And so I think that perspective has really come about and become very clear to me going through the program. And it's allowed me to be able to pitch a lot of ideas and actually do a lot of things, implement a lot of initiatives that otherwise I think I would have kept quiet about in the past. So that has really been the biggest learning value. And then the other piece of it, I think, is one I touched on earlier, is increasing my capacity and bandwidth to get things done. They always say, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. That's what you're going to be at the end of the program. You're going to be that busy person that just has an incredible ability to execute and execute at a high ability. And I think that's one thing that I've certainly gained from the program. So I'm going to pause there.
Wow, thank you, Chidinma. I had forgotten about you being pregnant, so thank you for that. A reminder that I know an inspiration. We talk to a lot of women who come to the program who say, I'm thinking about starting a family or going to be having a family in the program. So incredible to hear your perseverance through that. And I love you talking about, I hear a lot on these panels and from my conversation with students is that this kind of priceless confidence that you get from this program and just understanding how valuable your voice is and how much it matters and the unique perspective that you can bring. So thank you for reflecting that for those prospects who are on the call today.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. So moving on, and each one of these stories I hope is just more unique than the next. And I hope you're really gathering, because that's what's really special about our program here is just all the unique backgrounds. And so as Vanessa, you get Katarina up on the screen. I will go ahead and turn it over to you to share your story, Katarina.
Thank you, Shannon. And thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited to see all the new faces and actually share my story as well. So I'll give a little bit more personal background just because that's how my story started. So I'm from Europe and finished the school there. I have a computer science degree and moved here, got married and moved to the United States. So no family, started basically from zero, started again as a software developer, and then went into the product management role. And in my current company where I actually work right now, I got promoted and moved to be on the business side. And in general, I am in a way the introvert, the person. Hey, just give me computer and I'll work only with computer. I don't have to interact with the people. But I was in a situation, oh my God, I'm gonna have a team of like 15, 20 people that I actually have to manage. I have to collaborate with them, and it's totally something new for me that I didn't feel comfortable doing, especially coming from a different background and having just technical side on your mind. It was a really challenging area. So my husband came to me and he said, oh, there's a school, maybe we should go together to MBA. And we both signed up for an interview. I went on the interview. He rescheduled his own. He forgot about it, he stopped, but there you go. He gave me the idea. I went to the MBA, and thanks to Shannon, Christine, and a couple of more team members, made the whole process very easy. And I truly didn't even know what I'm signing up for from a perspective of the values that I'm gonna get. My goal originally was explore the school that is from the US, take advantage of being in the LA, and also grow, learn how to be a good manager, because I want my team to truly be respectful and do something different, not just traditional, do this task because I say so. So those are my original goals. And then I got accepted. It was really, it sounds a long process, but it was actually really smooth. It all was happening. Then by the time I heard, oh my God, you got accepted, I had the same reaction. Like, oh my God, I'm crying, I'm happy. I'm like, I don't know, like, oh my God, what am I signing up for? And what was I signing up for? I have already 2 kids. I have a full responsibilities. I'm busy. How can I do this? This is impossible. So I remember attending one of these areas and where I was like, how can you manage your time? Just tell me, like, is this even doable? Is this reality? You truly have kids, right? So I got insurance from other team from earlier alumni as well, that this is all possible. So I was like, okay, let me do this. And Chidinma, as you said, if you want something done, give to the busiest person. So we started this program. And what I truly, truly enjoy is that you get assigned a study group. So as I mentioned, I'm more kind of operation technical background. Your study group, they give the various different backgrounds as well. You get somebody from the finance, somebody from the marketing, somebody from technology. So all kind of, imagine you're forming a small board team meeting for yourself. And you get the tasks, you get studies that you actually review together, and that collaboration and learning about different points of view and really getting the full picture. It's literally, I felt like on every single case study that we had to do together was, oh my God, I own this company. How would you make it better? And that was very, very important because I learned more about strategic. We heard about technical management, technology management with Professor Terry. We also learned about the negotiation, organizational behavior classes. Putting all that together, strategy classes, it really helped me to continue to grow with my company. I wasn't sure if I wanted to change my career or not, but actually what happened is not only that I was growing, my company growth. So originally my company doubled the size, which was a phenomenal opportunity for me. And I actually grow that now I'm basically overseeing the whole payroll operations, not only in the US, in the Canada as well, and across a couple of other offices, which is truly something I enjoy. So from starting, hey, I just want to talk to computers, to now overseeing the whole operations in my company is a phenomenal path. And honestly, without this program, I truly won't be able to do it this successfully. And it all happened in only 2 years after that as well. So it was quite a bit of a journey, but things are happening overall as you go through it. You just have to believe in yourself. And I'm hearing from others, I learned myself, new side of myself. What can I do? I learned that, hey, I can do impossible, and always think outside of the box. And you just can do it. So I'll stop here and let others go.
Thank you, Katarina, for sharing that story as well. And it's, you're a great example too of that many of our students, over half of our students change jobs while in the program, but many of them stay within their own organizations and make that shift. And so congrats for all of your success. And thank you for sharing your story with us as well.
Thank you.
All right, Nina. So as the true veteran of this program, I look forward to, I'm sure, again, really focusing on your journey and the value you see reflecting back on this program after being gone for 5 years. So take it away.
Well, first of all, Shannon, it's so good to hear the numbers doubling, right, for this incoming class. When we graduated in 2017, we comprised 18% of the class. So to hear that number more than double is amazing. So I'll start off with a little personal background about myself, a little bit about my career trajectory. I'm from Haiti and the UK. I grew up in Spain. I immigrated to New York as a teenager. In New York, I did a number of things. I went to a liberal arts college, which not much of the class did, but then I migrated to California in 2005 after having worked with Mayor Bloomberg in a communications capacity. I came to LA ostensibly to work for Mayor Han and ended up working for Sundance Institute, thereby doing the full circle of government, arts administration, nonprofits, and then startup. I'm the co-founder of an org called New American Leaders. It trains, identifies, recruits immigrants to run for public office. And when I started thinking about Anderson, I was at a very interesting impasse in terms of what was happening career-wise. I had just produced a feature film. I had started thinking very earnestly about the future of virtual reality in media and beyond. I had a little bit of nonprofit and startup fatigue, wherein I wanted to really think through how I could approach arts and arts administration and nonprofit in a smarter, more strategic, viable way. And wanting to really have a better and deeper understanding of how money and finance impacted my whole world, so that left and right brain were talking to each other more smartly. Cut to, I worked with someone else. And to that, I don't know, Shannon, how many people are in the arts right now, but I know that it was far and few between. And some of it, what gave me pause about an MBA is if I was going to be able to really delve deep into the finance piece of it, but also have other folks that I could talk to. And I found that Anderson was really not only accommodating, but crucial around letting me talk to different schools. So my time at Anderson involved Anderson, the film school, the law school, and that really helped me to dive into distribution, legal aspects of what it was I wanted to explore in film. And then, and I think other folks have touched on this, it really started to address my entrepreneurial itch. So like many folks who have gone to Anderson, I fell in love with the EDR process. And there, naturally, when it came time to doing SMR, we fought to do a BCO, which you guys will learn more about as you delve more into the program offering. But once again, I ended up starting a company with my classmates. That was Hatch Escapes. It's a series of escape rooms. And it touched on all of the things that I love about my experience at Anderson. It brought together the educators in the group, the creatives, the finance, the scaling, the real estate piece. And it was a really, really, truly unique experience. And Hatch Escapes continues as we speak. In terms of other takeaways that I got from the program, the female cohort, I can't tell you that they're my allies, they're my BFFs. I sit on the board of two companies that two of the women in my class started as a result of being in the program. We are sounding boards in the most valuable ways that I can't even begin to describe. And then, folks have touched on the time management piece. Once you do this program, it's incredible what one is capable of. One's notion of time is completely challenged, stretched, but also energized, because to be in the same room with some of the smartest people you'll ever meet, who bring a variety of skills and mindsets and backgrounds and perspectives that start to inform your approach to your own work in ways that you won't even begin to value until 5 years later. So I'll leave it at that. I'm happy to leave more room for Q&A.
Thank you so much, Nina. And I love what you said about, these are my BFFs and my sounding boards. And that's another thing I hear so often is people say, at this point, when I entered the program where I was in my life, I didn't think I really needed any more friends. I had my community, I'm established, and, people leave with feeling that they could phone a friend on any topic. You've got doctors, you've got lawyers, you've got, people who can help with a variety of personal and professional topics. So I love that. I love that hearing that they're my sounding boards and BFFs. So thank you for sharing that. So we'll bring everyone back on here together, and definitely want to take the time now to open it up to the audience, and feel free to either unmute yourself or go ahead and drop any of your questions into the chat, whatever you feel most comfortable with. Yeah, Susan.
This is Sibel. Hi. So my question, MBA versus MBA comparison. So when I do Google search, sometimes for the MBA versus MBA, it says like MBA is much more kind of practice-based and then requires less responsibility. So is there any option for after the graduation, MBA versus MBA? Is there any difference to find the executive position? So which one is much more popular for the executive positions, MBA versus MBA?
So I'll let the panelists take that. And I think another way to think about that question too, as I'm understanding, is kind of like, how do you position yourself? Do you highlight that you got an executive MBA versus, an Anderson MBA? So please, any panelists unmute and take that question.
Sure, I can take that question. So I think the main thing you're thinking about when you do an MBA, and I should stress this, is the people who your classmates are going to be. What you're going to find in a MBA class, a traditional MBA class, is that a lot of your classmates are going to be, number one, significantly younger, number two, less experienced. And part of what you're doing there is forming a cohort of people, forming networking essentially. And so, for example, a lot of my classmates have actually used me as their physician for their family members, or I've called up the lawyers and utilized them as well. And so having people at a certain level and a certain position in life is something that you're going to gain from being in an executive program, as opposed to, being with absolutely no sort of knockdown men's, but being around like a bunch of 25-year-olds who don't really have much work experience. So that's really one of the biggest things that I think you'll gain. In terms of content, it is exactly the same content we do. We have all the opportunities they have to do as well. If you want to do electives, they are the ability to do that is there. So the content you're getting from your MBA remains the same, but I think the advantage the executive has is the exposure to a really more senior cohort of people.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and because that's what I was going to say. You graduate from, it's all in how you market it. You graduate with an Anderson MBA. That's what you can put on your resume and your LinkedIn, and it's up to you if you share about the executive portion of it. So. Susan, I think you were next.
Okay, hi, thank you. And I enjoyed everyone's story. I have a question about, and some of you did touch on it, balancing, inserting a demanding MBA program into your schedule of work and raising a family and all the challenges we women have in that regard. So, one thing I think is, like when you have a big project going on at work, we already balance work and and family as it is and children. But when you have a big project going on at work, and then you also have homework or a project or a presentation with the MBA program coming up, how did you guys manipulate that, or what the better word is, how did you handle that? And is there any flexibility that if you just really can't do both, is there flexibility with the professors on maybe an extension on a deadline or something like that as far as turning in homework? And just wanted to hear the panel's thoughts on that and how you handle juggling things like that. Thank you.
I can take a portion, at least from my point of view, because I lived through it. First of all, for me, it was very important to align with my husband. So to align and recognize, okay, next 2 years, I'm going to focus on this area. There were some certain activities I had to give up. And he need to sign up, like, the kids, some classes or some areas. So we just had to align on it. And truly, I had his support. So that helped. Just keep in mind, we never had a babysitters. So we figured it out. The second is what helped me is truly try to organize your time. And when you are doing school, focus on school. Don't get distracted. When you're with family, spend time with family. Don't think about some other areas. So kind of that helped me. I mean, those are my kind of small hints that really helped me. So I kind of week over week, because I was with Chidinma on the bi-weekly. So we were every other week in the school, on campus, in person. So it will help us, for example, 1 week, yes, you're at school. The next week, I was taking 1 day just for studying, finish all the homeworks, and then kind of coordinating the rest of the activities throughout the week. So just kind of try to build your own organizational kind of time and have that commitment and be in that moment, and that helped me.
I'll add one thing, which I think it's important. Doing the MBA, it brought me like a new set of energy that I didn't know that I would have. It's just so incredible how enthusiastic you get about the program, and you're really learning new and interesting things. And the most important is that you're not alone. As it was mentioned here, we have study groups, and those study groups are really people that are complementary to your set of skills. And a lot, at least I think a lot, if not all of the assignments will be in groups. Of course, there's certain things that it's going to be individual, but you will at least you will have the assistance from those study groups. So the load, it's a lot, right? It's a new full-time job that you will have. But it's not, it's not that it's going to demand from you so much in your day-to-day, because you will be able to prioritize and set aside a couple of hours just to get it done. And to be quite honest, again, it gives you new energy. And I was so more motivated to then do things efficiently on my other aspects of life, instead of just wasting time and taking too long to finish something at work. I was like, I need to get it done because I actually want to do this for school. I actually, I want to be very conscious and take advantage of my time. Every time that I spent with my family, I was there with them, period, because every time that I wanted to sit down and study, I wanted to be studying, and period. Nothing else to interrupt or distract me.
I can also add a quick one from the class council perspective and just academics, that you have an academic rep for each section that gets elected, and this person will help advocate on behalf of the section to say there's 2 midterms on the same day, and that's just, the other professor just wasn't aware. So they will help advocate on your behalf and say, can we change the window or have some flexibility on this? So, and the faculty, at least definitely the ones I've come across, they really want us to succeed. They want us to understand the material. So just being vocal about that. And the beautiful thing about MBAs too is that we own kind of our learning. We chose to go back to work and to study at this time of our lives, that we can have this kind of partnership and collaboration with the faculty. Say, I'm really interested in this piece. I'd love to double click on that module you talked about. But again, just from a council perspective, we have support and student advocacy to help with some of those deadlines.
Thank you so much all for sharing. Susan, I hope that gave you a little bit of context to help you kind of understand the balance and the support. Shan, sorry if I didn't pronounce your name correctly.
That's right. I know we are at time, so I'll just...
No, we actually have till 1:15. So for anyone that can stay, yeah, so please go ahead.
I'm recently admitted into the EMBA class of 2024. I know we have some young moms here. I just want to learn some tips and tricks of how you juggle between kids and school. I have a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old. I would really want to learn, like, how do you involve them, and then how do you try to spend more time with them while having this other thing? My husband assured me he can handle it, but I not only want this whole experience to be a positive experience for me, I also want it to be a positive experience for my daughters. So any advice, like, I'm all ears. Thank you.
I'll just briefly say, because I kind of share in a sense, I engaged in a certain cases. I remember when the very first class was statistics, and when you had the flip of coin. So I was actually telling that to my girls. I'm kind of counting, one was 7, one was 5 at that time. So if there is something fun to engage them, share. There are some fun activities that we did at school that I was like, hey, here's what mama is studying. And on the other side, even though they were not involved, one great thing is that they learn from me that you can always educate, you can always continue with the school. So seeing that role model, kind of telling them, hey, mama is going in school because of this and that, like, what's the vision? And you need to also respect their time. They were so serious about that they will be like, mom, do you need this? Mom, can I bring you snacks? It actually turned that they're the one taking care of me as a student and being very serious about it. Like, I made it more as a fun. So as I said, I had to skip some of them, their practices, but you try to balance. And now with the remote options or monthly, depends on program that you select, you can definitely balance, that's for sure.
Yeah, the other thing to mention is, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Your husband's life is about to get very busy, and he is going to have to pick up the slack a lot. But the other piece of this is that your life is also both your lives are about to get much richer as well, richer in terms of quality. And what I mean by that is, for example, at the time he was 9 months old, and we had an international trip scheduled, and we took the whole family to South Africa, my mother-in-law included. And that was a trip of a lifetime. I was busy like going around doing the things that we're doing with the program, but they got to explore and stuff. Some people went to China. So there's so many things that are going to enrich your family's life from being in the program. We mentioned friendships. They have a whole series of new friends and playmates as well from our colleagues, that I met in program. So yes, it is going to be busy. Yes, you are not going to be available a lot of the time, and your husband is going to need to step up for that. But at the same time, the quality of life and the richness of your life is going to improve significantly through this experience.
That's a great point. I just wanted to add on to that. I loved the global immersion piece of my Anderson experience. In fact, I did a real focus on global management and went to India and Colombia. And you are able to bring your partner along and your family and really include that in that very, very rich experience. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And we're able to go back and start doing those trips. So thank you for sharing that. Kavita, yeah. and then I will, Chinmoy, I think I'm seeing you answer in there, so I'll look at that. But Kavita, if you want to go next.
Okay, so one question is, there's one main thing that is stopping me from like enrolling myself or putting in the application right away is I do anticipate location change in my job. I might have to move to another location. So if that happens when I'm still doing the course, what are my options, and how can I deal with it?
Yeah, so I'll just say really quickly, and then I'm sure people have stories here or whatever. I know Taysa moved during the program as well, but we do have the different flexible schedule options, and you do have the option at the second quarter and fourth quarter mark to ask for a schedule change if there's space in the other section option. So that is one thing, but I know if anyone wants to comment on, I know that there's job changes, family changes, location changes that happen during the program, if anyone wants to comment on any of that.
Yeah, I can share that there are 2 students in our class that are international, and they are part of the blended program so that they can fly in 1 week in a month to be with the whole class. And then 2 weeks later, they can join online to be with their cohort and have that rich discussion. I'm part of the monthly program because I'm in the Bay Area and I like the flexibility of self-study between the weekends. So those are 2 options that are usually most popular for people who aren't able to come to LA as frequently. But yeah, I just wanted to share that in terms of our class, how we've approached that.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
And then I know we just have a few more minutes left. So Chinmoy, I think, and I think this gets after something we haven't talked a ton about in this, but I think you're wondering, you're coming from an IT background, significant experience in finance and sales, and you really want to move into that leadership role. And so if any of you can speak to kind of the leadership curriculum and how maybe you even feel, you talked about some of the hard skills, but how you felt you could move up into more leadership roles as a result of the program.
I honestly think that this is one of the strongest points for the MBA at Anderson. You really learn a lot about the soft skills. As it was mentioned before, the MBA, the regular MBA and the executive MBA, the difference between those two, since I went to the executive MBA and the class was from experienced professionals, you're dealing with a lot of people that have knowledge of different backgrounds. So someone mentioned over here, and I thought it was brilliant, that, like all the study rooms are sort of like boardroom meetings. So you really learn how to present your views and how to agree or disagree with someone and have to say it out loud in those small study groups and then in a classroom format. And, this is leadership in itself. This is literally you learning about yourself, your communication skills, and then being receptive feedback, because not everybody will agree with you. I remember that I'm a super anxious person. I really don't like talking in public, but I was like, yeah, I'm here. I'm in this experience. I'm going to raise my hand. And the first time that I did, somebody disagreed with my point of view in organizational behavior class and talking about one of the cases that we had to do prior to the class. But, it was good because although I was, I could feel the heat in my body as somebody was disagreeing with me, I was like, no, but wait a minute. This is why I'm here. I'm here to learn to have this leadership skills. I'm here because as I go from, my current position to whatever it's next, that at that time I had no idea. I mean, I know what I wanted to do, but I didn't know where I was going to end up at. This is just the beginning, and that's the safest of the environment. Now that person that disagreed with me, it's one of my closest friends. And, it was not that it was personally, it was just because we had different views. So I really, truly believe that this is a great place for you to learn way beyond the set of skills that you already have. You're not going to school to get it better. You go into school because you want more than that.
Yeah, and there is a program with coaching as well. So you do have a high emphasis on the your career goals, where do you want it to go, as well as the truly having that coaching sessions where you have assigned person that will help you to address the specific areas, like how you present. Then we had a really nice branding sessions, like how you present yourself, how your LinkedIn should look. And honestly, just being surrounded with this energy, with all the experience, you will start changing. So I started as a manager. Like when I started the program, I was a manager. Then I got 2 promotions during the actual program, got to the VP level. just by me being me, honestly. So it just got to you because you now will build that confidence that you will learn from others. Same as when you send the kids to the school, they learn also from others how to behave, how to think, how to look at the business. And just by you starting questioning, being more open, even on your current positions, they will recognize you. It's just natural.
Thank you for sharing all that. And then Michelle, why don't you be our last? I know you had your hand up, so if you can be your last question, and then we'll close out from there. So go ahead, Michelle.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you all for sharing your stories. They've been very informative and fascinating. I actually work in the advertising and media space, and I'm just wondering if any of you ran into other students who had that same industry, and then also if there were any exposure to classes of within that space.
I'll just say that two of my classmates, women, were in the advertising and marketing space and benefited tremendously. I touched on this earlier about the cross-pollination that happens at UCLA, where you can take a robust Anderson class and combine that with something else, and you'll find that professors are very receptive to having you fold that in to the work. So I think that there's ways to tailor around that, but also the branding and advertising offering at Anderson was key to my takeaways in terms of how to really think through marketing and advertising. From my understanding of the folks who are in the advertising space, they really benefited from the offerings, and from what I understand, it's actually grown. People in my class are coming back to take classes after the fact. So.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, awesome. And Michelle, and anyone who has kind of specific questions to their career, please set up a one-on-one with us, or usually the Q&As are only like 2 or 3 people in them, so I can address kind of very specific questions. But thank you all so much for attending today. Thank you so much to our panelists. It is so good to see you, and it's such a reminder of why we do what we do every day and how transformative this program is. So thank you for coming back. I'm so happy to see all of you and all your success. And to you prospects, I hope you'll continue to engage with us. And again, that you heard something today that resonates within yourself, to see yourself sitting and into this group in the future. You become part of this group, not only your classmates, but as alumni. So we hope you'll consider joining the EMBA family. And for now, I hope you have a great weekend ahead. And please, we hope you'll be in touch.